Hello everyone, this is Serious Trivia, and welcome back to the first Emperor of Wu Let's Talk Lore series as we continue with episode 3, titled The Trap. Now we mentioned since our first episode that the main reason Sun Quan hesitated to crown himself as the Emperor of Wu was his lack of legitimacy. So with diplomatic ties restored with Shu Han, and internal problems taken care of down south with Shi Xie's clan, Sun Quan now needed a grand victory over the usurper kingdom of Wei to cement himself as a true challenger and as an equal. So in 228, Sun Quan approached his administrator of Poyang in Zhoufang with a plan to trick the Wei forces by reaching out to a local Shanyue leader in Zongshuai to fake surrender to Cao Xiu, who is now serving as the governor of the Yang province. Now, as a reminder, Shanyue are not the Yue tribes, as most are displaced Han populations that had opted to live in the mountains, forming anarchy societies in order to escape the rules and tax burdens of the Han government, or Sun Quan's rule in this case. And throughout Sun Quan's reign, there were countless campaigns against these various Shanyue groups to bring them under his rule, either through providing them with Tuntian farmlands or through brute force. But the interesting thing about this particular group of Shanyue under the rule of Zongshuai is that Zongshuai was a known entity within the kingdom of Wei. So Sun Quan believed that with enough enticement in the form of bribes, he could convince Zongshuai to help Wu set a trap against Wei. Now, upon hearing Sun Quan's plan, Zhou Fang offered a better alternative, as he pointed out that Zongshuai is difficult to trust and also just a lowly Shanyue leader that Wei might not care much about. So instead of having Zongshuai fake surrender, Zhou Fang volunteered himself. Now, Zhou Fang was a young and up-and-coming commander amongst the Wu ranks, as he earned himself the position of the administrator of Poyang after working together with General Hu Zong for 2 years to put down a massive rebellion within Poyang led by Peng Qi that had started in 225. And still a relative unknown entity for the Wei court, Zhou Fang suggested that he can pretend to take punishment from within the Wu court for administrative mistakes, going as far as suggesting that he can shave his hair, as being bald was a common punishment reserved for prisoners. And culturally, this was a big deal, as the Han culture believes that the hair was a part of your body, similar to your limbs, and while hair does not bleed when you cut them, it still hurts your body spiritually. Therefore, shaving has long been one of the 5 highest punishments in ancient China's criminal system. And hearing Zhou Fang's suggestion, and touched by his determination, Sun Quan accepted, as he then sent out court inspectors to Poyang in order to give off the appearance that Zhou Fang was being investigated for wrongdoings. Then once Zhou Fang went through with the head shaving, he sent a close confidant with a short letter written on just 7 bamboo slits to Cao Xiu, expressing his frustrations with Sun Quan and how because he now feared for his own life after making these mistakes, he was willing to turn over the entire Poyang commandery to Wei, if only he could receive military support from Cao Xiu. Now, once Cao Xiu got this letter, he was tempted, but he did a bit of research himself first, and once he found out that Zhou Fang's hair was shaved for his crimes, he became a believer, as Cao Xiu soon made a formal request to Emperor Cao Rui for an offensive campaign deep into Wu territory, in order to work with Zhou Fang from within to take full control of the Poyang commandery, giving Wei forces finally access across the Yangtze River. Now, during this period, defections were commonplace, and with no real reason to doubt Cao Xiu's judgment, Cao Rui approved the campaign. Thus, Cao Xiu summoned up roughly 100,000 troops from the Eastern Front, and started to march deep into Wu's territory, as the planned rendezvous location set by Zhou Fang was at Wanxian. Now, if we look at the map here, Wanxian is located southwest of the Wei stronghold at Hefei. To its west is the Dabianshan mountain ranges, and to the east it's the Yangtze River. And sandwiched in between will soon be Cao Xiu and his 100,000 strong army. And with no real control of the Yangtze River, Cao Xiu had to march along the foothill of the Dabieshan mountain ranges, which gave the Wu forces a clear target to set their ambush, as General Lu Xun, Zhu Huan, and Quan Zhong were each given 30,000 troops by Sun Quan for this campaign, as Sun Quan even secretly arrived in Vanxian in August of 228 to monitor the whole situation. Now on the Wei side, apart from Cao Xiu and the eastern forces, Cao Rui also ordered generals Jia Kui, who was stationed near Jiangling at this time, to take his forces east towards Dongguan, which was east of Hefei, to act as a defensive force and a reserve force for Cao Xiu's flank, while Sima Yi was sent down south to plan for a dual strike at Jiangling should Cao Xiu achieve success on his front. But just as these plans were finalized within the capital city and Cao Xiu started his march, intel from the front line started to filter back to the Wei court, as Jiang Ji soon reported back that with the Wu general Zhu Ran's naval forces positioned upstream, it was highly likely that Wu was preparing for a flank maneuver to cut off Cao Xiu's retreat route through the Yangtze River. Then Jia Kui reported back that on his march towards Dongguan, which typically would be a heavily defended Wu garrison opposite of Hefei, it seemed that overnight the enemy forces had disappeared. This pointed to an increased likelihood that the Wu forces were consolidating their armies at Vanxian to form an entrapment for Cao Xiu. Then General Man Chong, who was the general of the front, serving within Jia Kui's army, also chimed in as he reported to Cao Rui that Cao Xiu's rendezvous point at Vanxian was particularly prone to ambushes given its unique geographic features, and given Cao Xiu's overeager nature to prove himself, he might knowingly head for enemy trap, as he hoped Cao Rui could give the orders to halt Cao Xiu's march. And hearing all this, Cao Rui immediately sent out edicts, first to Jia Kui's army, ordering them to abandon their objective of taking the poorly defended Dongguan position, to immediately force march their army to join up with Cao Xiu's forces as soon as possible. And at the same time, a separate edict was sent out to Cao Xiu, ordering him to halt his march towards Vanxian, as now it's apparent that this was going to be a trap. Unfortunately, this edict never made it to Cao Xiu in time, as by now, Cao Xiu was deep on his march. And Cao Xiu also knew it was a trap, as he had been receiving intel too along his march down south, as even the Langya administrator Sun Li had been sending him warnings of a Wu trap. But Cao Xiu, feeling overconfident and ever so eager to prove himself, decided to continue his campaign anyways, as he felt that if he knew this was going to be a trap, then at least he couldn't be surprised. And this personality of Cao Xiu, which had already shown itself back in the 222 campaign against Wu, where after Lu Fan's fleet was washed ashore and Cao Xiu was able to score a relative easy victory over the abandoned Wu forces, he then decided to push his luck as he had ordered Zan Ba to launch 500 ships across the Yangtze River, hoping to extend his gains, only for the Wu forces to regroup and counter on their own territory, as Zan Ba took losses and was forced to retreat. So it's not that surprising that Cao Xiu, despite knowing that this was a trap, decided to push his luck once more. And in addition to this, another factor that could have influenced this campaign is the fact that Jia Kui, who is the one telling the emperor that this could be a trap and that Cao Xiu needed to come back, had a personal issue with Cao Xiu. The two of them were well known to not get along. So deep down inside, Cao Xiu wanted to prove Jia Kui wrong, as he believed armed with his 100,000 strong army, he could crush the Wu ambush regardless. And with this, we're going to end our episode here, as we'll come back next time to wrap up this series with the Battle of Shiting itself, where we will see how the Wu forces were able to crush the Wei Eastern Front for a grand victory that Sun Quan needed to finally crown himself as the third and final emperor of the Three Kingdoms period. And hopefully you all have enjoyed this episode enough to hit that like button to help support the channel, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!